All right, let's get this thing going. How's everybody doing? I just wanted to come on tonight and give you kind of an overview of what we're expecting tomorrow, what the big question marks are tomorrow with any severe threat for the greater Cincinnati area, and give you kind of a timeline of what we're looking at for tomorrow. Be sure to let me know where you are watching from tonight. Good to see everyone on. I'll try to kind of keep track of your comments here as best as I can tonight. But I got Krista in Alexandria, Melinda in Northern Kentucky, Valerie in Burlington tonight. Uh, oh, uh, Christina in Davenport, Iowa. I used to live there for a couple of years back in the 90s. Gina in Liberty Township, James in Hamersville tonight, Rick in Batavia, Trevor in Springboro, Pam in Northern Kentucky, Connor in Rome, Italy. Nice. We've got Joey in Hillsboro tonight, and Ronnie out in Harrison, Alyssa in Trenton, Jenny in Mainville tonight. Thank you all for joining us. Without further ado, let's get this thing going tonight. So, yeah, next big weather impact, thunderstorms tomorrow. These get going as early as tomorrow morning. And, as far as impacts here, flash flooding could be a big concern tomorrow. Damaging winds from some of the stronger storms. Some could produce hail and even tornadoes. A possibility, although that impact perhaps a little bit lower than the rest because the chances are a little lower. This is pretty amazing. I want to show you this tonight, and usually I don't start out any severe weather talk looking at temperatures, but today in Cincinnati, we hit officially at the Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International Airport, we hit 74 degrees, just 3 degrees shy of a record from 2009. Let's go north. St. Louis is at 81. Chicago only at 39 degrees. So there's 42 degree temperature difference across this tiny area from northern Illinois down through parts of east central Missouri tonight. And it's that huge temperature difference. That's where we have a front. That's where we have storms just erupting tonight along this front. And you can see here, we're going to come in a little tighter. Right along the front is where we have storms erupting. That cell near Kankakee, Illinois, is the one that's just a monster. That is a supercell thunderstorm. It's a thunderstorm that is rotating tonight near Kankakee. And this thing has a tornado warning with it. That is a radar-indicated tornado right now. So there's no confirmation of a tornado there, but that supercell's rotating. It's been producing hail, 4-inch size hail. I mean, huge hail coming out of this storm tonight in northern parts of Illinois. And so you think about that. I'm going to take a look at this. 4-inch size hail is softball-sized hail, folks. That storm producing softball-sized hail near Kankakee, Illinois tonight. Just a monster storm. A monster storm. So there it is. That is the tornado warned storm near Kankakee, Illinois. That is going to move over into northern parts of Indiana, an area I'm very familiar with there. Went to college in Valparaiso, Indiana, just up the road from here. So I'd travel between there and Cincinnati all the time. But it's eventually going to cross I-65 right along the Kankakee River there. In southern Lake County, southern Porter County, and that may eventually impact southern Lake County, and eventually, maybe even southern Porter County. But boy, that's a monster storm right there. That is nasty. And then up around Chicago, we've got another severe thunderstorm, 1.25-inch hail size with that one, impacting 3.1 million people there in Cook County. So that one's moving over toward the lake. It should eventually weaken. And then you've got some more storms back here into my old stomping grounds. Like I said, I used to live in Davenport, Iowa. These are in western Illinois now. Princeton, Kewanee there. Those are being warned for 60-mile-an-hour winds and 1 3/4 inch hail now, moving through Illinois. And so those are south of the Davenport area. And it looks like most of that stays south of there. So this is kind of the idea of what's going on. That is the hot spot tonight. So that is the place that is going to see the most severe weather. They're in a moderate risk of severe storms, a level 4 severe weather risk up there in northern Illinois, northern Indiana tonight. So, and so if you're watching from my coverage area in the greater Cincinnati area, those are storms you don't have to worry about. Those are going to move away from us tonight, and they won't impact us at all. So we're not concerned about that. We're on the edge of the risk area. This covers the overnight into 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Just a marginal for most of us, except the far northwestern part of our area gets clipped by the slight. And then tomorrow, we all have a slight risk of severe weather. So it's a level 2 as opposed to that 4 that they're seeing in northern Illinois, northern Indiana tonight. So let's talk about a little more about what might transpire here. We've got a lot of different models that we can show you that try to predict the evolution of these storms and the finer details, but models aren't very good at doing that. They're just kind of a general overview and approximation, if you will, of what's going to happen. So this is one model called the graph model. I'm just going to show you the big view of this because this is interesting. This keeps us quiet through the overnight, but after about 4 o'clock in the morning, storms start to develop across southern Indiana and parts of Kentucky there, down around Louisville, as the what we call the low-level jet really kicks in. So it's a jet stream lower in the atmosphere that blows from generally south to north. And as that low-level jet really kicks in, it maximizes overnight into the morning. That's how it works. So those low-level jet winds get stronger during this time frame. And that's why we can get morning storms a lot of times with the way these systems behave. So as that low-level jet kicks in overnight, we see thunderstorms erupting there through Missouri into Illinois, southern Indiana, parts of Kentucky, and that activity lifts into the Cincinnati area tomorrow morning. So this is our first storm threat coming tomorrow morning. Unfortunately, it coincides with the morning drive, the morning rush tomorrow. So we're concerned that there could be some severe storms around tomorrow morning. Meteorologist Tara Blake, meteorologist Paul Poteet will be here keeping an eye on things tomorrow morning because there could be some severe weather. Now, here is the biggest question, and quite frankly, a question we don't have an answer for. How quickly does this morning storm activity move out of the area? Because the faster it moves out, the more intense the next round of storms may be into the afternoon and early evening. This is a tale as old as time, as I put on one of my posts earlier today. This is a setup that we always see in severe weather season. The low-level jet kicks off the storms in the morning. You get maybe a round of severe weather in the morning. And then does it clear out quickly? Because if it does, then look out in the afternoon and evening. This particular model clears those storms out quickly, takes them out of here. And so as they move out quickly in the morning, we get more destabilization in the afternoon. We get more fuel for storms in the afternoon. And that could lead to more potent storms in the afternoon and early evening as the actual cold front and the upper level dip in the jet streams. The trough arrives late in the day. So this model shows, potentially some supercell thunderstorms trying to form ahead of the front, and then a weaker squall line of storms with the front itself. That's just one scenario that could happen, though. That is scenario one. Here's another thing we need to watch. Heavy rainfall. This is that was the graph model I showed you. This is the HRRR model, or HRRR as some call it. This shows us that some areas may pick up 1 to 2 inches of rainfall with these storms tomorrow. So the flash flooding risk is going to be real, just due to the fact that our ground is so incredibly saturated, and so it's not going to take much rain to send the creeks, the streams higher, the Little Miami River, maybe even the Great Miami River, and other creek streams and rivers higher. So that is an aspect of this we are going to watch. The flash flood threat may be significant for some. This is from the Storm Prediction Center. This is a map detailing their risk split into tornado, wind, and hail. And you can see there the wind threat is the highest. They've got it a 30% chance of damaging winds within 25 miles of any point on the map there, which covers, most of our viewing area. So damaging winds, by and large, will be the main threat. The hail threat, 5% chance of 1 inch or larger hail within 25 miles of any point on the map for the entire area. And then the tornado threat, for most of us, it's a 2% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of any point on the map. In our eastern counties, Highland, Adams, a little sliver of eastern Brown, a sliver of eastern Mason, they've got it at 5% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of any point there. So that is a consideration. What I don't have on here is the hash marked area, which covers areas east of Cincinnati, indicating, if those morning storms get out and we destabilize enough, could there be not just a tornado, but a more significant tornado east of Cincinnati? Yeah, it's possible. But the million-dollar question is, how long do the storms stick around in the morning? So this is my impact graphic, slight risk, 2 out of 5 for us. Flooding, damaging winds, biggest threat by and large. We've got the hail threat, we've got the tornado threat lower. That may change tomorrow. Those threats may go higher, depending on how the morning storms behave. So here's another model. This is the HRRR, her model, that's going to show you things quiet through the overnight. And then after about 4 or 5 in the morning, storms start to develop southwest of Cincinnati, lifting into the tri-state tomorrow morning. So that's around 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. We see some storms into the area. And as these storms intensify, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, some of these storms here, not only producing extremely heavy rain, they could potentially tap into that low-level jet, the strong winds just above our head, and mix some of those strong winds down to the surface and produce damaging wind gusts. And the HRRR model here, HRRR model, has been indicating that possibility that tomorrow morning, some of these storms could tap into that low-level jet, takes the winds from upstairs that are really high, and push them down to the ground and produce some damaging winds over 60, maybe over 70 miles per hour. So that is our concern. The other thing that this model does, unlike the other model I showed you, it keeps the showers and storms around longer, keeps rain around longer, keeps rain-cooled air around longer. So that tends to limit the severe weather threat later in the afternoon. It doesn't make it go away, not by any means, but it kind of tempers it down a little bit. So that's the model estimate depiction of what could theoretically be happening at 3 in the afternoon. Definitely got some storms around. The modeling not showing anything with horrible winds, not showing anything with rotation at all. It's not showing any tornado risk here at all. And then we start to see a little bit of a severe threat materialize in our southeast counties on this model. So that would be around 5 o'clock. Brown, Adams, Mason, Robertson, into Bracken County, maybe Pendleton County. And so those would be the areas that we would, if all those storms stick around much of the day, doesn't mean we won't see severe weather. It just means maybe that kind of shifts into our southeast counties. And that's why the Storm Prediction Center kind of had our eastern counties with a higher maybe threat for a tornado, maybe that 5% risk versus the 2% risk for the rest of us. So what I will tell you is that the way these individual storms and storm clusters develop and evolve is well beyond the scope of our technology to model them or predict them. We just can't. We don't have enough information in going into the models, enough detailed information, enough information that is going to tell us precisely how this situation is going to evolve. What we do know is that We've got tremendous amounts of wind energy aloft coming in, tremendous amounts of shear, and that gives us at least the potential for severe weather tomorrow. So that's why now the Storm Prediction Center has us in a level 2, a broad level 2 risk, because you kind of look at it, you're like, well, you can't really split hairs here. It's kind of an equal risk everywhere. So this model has the threat ending by tomorrow evening. Everything's gone. Everything's out of here. But from the heavy rain, we could potentially still have flooding issues going into tomorrow evening, depending on how much rain we get and how all of that shakes down. So it's an evolving situation for Wednesday, for sure. The thing to keep in mind is if those morning storms last longer, and if we've got rain, cold air around through late morning into the early to middle part of the afternoon, that's likely going to temper down the severe threat for most of us, maybe not all of us, but most of us later in the day. But if that morning area storms is less extensive, if they come and go, they produce some severe weather, they quickly lift out, and then things are calm after that, and maybe we get some breaks in the cloud cover, then that second line of storms coming in could not only be more intense, there could be some supercell thunderstorms, rotating storms that form out ahead of it into the afternoon. So all of these things are possible. And if you say, John, what scenario do you lean toward versus the other? I don't lean toward any of them right now. It's just hard to say how this is all going to evolve. But there is a severe threat. It is something we really need to keep our eyes on tomorrow, just given the fact that there's so much in the way of dynamics in the atmosphere tomorrow, and so much in the way of wind energy there with this big dip in the jet stream coming. And bottom line is the morning drive is probably going to be really stormy and wet with storms moving through, so I put up the red light for that tomorrow, and then more rounds of storms into the afternoon. So. The other thing I want to mention is even outside of storms, there could be some wind gusts of 40 plus miles per hour that have nothing to do with storms, that are just part of this weather system. We call those gradient winds. So you may see some wind gusts over 40 miles an hour that have nothing to do with thunderstorms themselves. But those gusts within the storms themselves could certainly be higher than that. So, just... stay with us tomorrow. Like I said, Tara Blake, Paul Poteet are going to be watching that morning round of storms. And then me and Eric D. will be here in the afternoon, kind of keeping you updated on the afternoon storms and how that threat may evolve tomorrow afternoon. If you don't have it, grab our Weather Authority app. And, on that app, if you allow it to know your location at all times, it will alert you if you get inside one of those warning polygons. So you got to let it know your location so it knows what to do and where to track you. But it will alert you to severe weather if you let it know your location. And I've had a lot of people ask me, John, I'm in, let's just make something up. I'm in Boone County, and there was a warning, and I didn't get it. Well, chances are you weren't within that warning polygon, because these warnings aren't for entire counties anymore. They used to be that way back in the day, but now they're for specific small areas within the county. And we can go back and show you that tonight, how things are going out there in Illinois. Yeah, okay, it looks like they've got a tornado on the ground now there for that storm. Wow. Let's take a look at this a little more. 4-inch hail, 3 to 4 inch hail, considerable threat, tornado on the ground now with this. And I'm bringing up the warning. At 6:35 p.m., a confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado was located over Aroma Park or near Kankakee, moving east at 25 miles per hour. There's a lot of people there in Kankakee. That warning's affecting 11. Okay, it's now east of Kankakee, affecting 11,000 people in a tornado warning. The whole severe thunderstorm warning is affecting 104,000, almost 105,000 people. Wow, this is a particularly dangerous situation. Take cover now. Radar confirmed tornado now. There in eastern Illinois. This is near Kankakee, Illinois tonight, where they have a radar confirmed tornado. Oh boy. And I don't have all these products since it's not our home area, or they're not into the system yet. But yeah, so that's a confirmed tornado on the ground there near Kankakee, Illinois tonight. You can see it's got that classic hook echo shape with this supercell thunderstorm tonight. Wow. Looks like the warning for Chicago's gone, and then back here into western Illinois, right along that front. Yeah, they've got a tornado warning for Bureau in Henry County, so I'm sure my friends at the National Weather Service and the Quad Cities there are busy tonight. Shout out to Andy Irwin, one of my longtime buddies who's been there forever, Quad City native, who works tirelessly out there. Yeah, tornado warning for that one for Bureau in Henry County. That's radar indicated. More thunderstorm warnings there lining up from Mediopolis, Iowa. That's where Jen and I got our first dog, Calvin. And these are, yeah, looks like more tornado warnings back there. And this, with the front, these are going to stay south of the Davenport area, the big population area of the Quad Cities. But it's lighting up out there tonight in northern Illinois. And again, if you're watching from the Cincinnati area, none of this activity is coming our way tonight. It's all going to move north of us tonight. So this is stuff with the actual warm front up here to the north. But the worst storm there near Kankakee, Illinois, that is a radar-confirmed tornado. Yeah, radar-confirmed tornado. I still don't have any of these Velocity products into the system yet, since that's not our home area. But, boy, yeah, that's going to move over into northwest Indiana, right along the Kankakee River, or just south of the Kankakee River, it looks like, with that particular storm. That is a nasty one. And, again, that's where they got the moderate risk tonight, the level 4 risk up there tonight. So they are dealing with that. But if you're just joining us, maybe you just tuned in here, we're talking about the severe weather threat for the Cincinnati area. Not so much tonight. It's going to be tomorrow, but the biggest threat at level 4 up there in northern Illinois, northern Indiana, right where that supercell is pretty much moving tonight, east of Kankakee, Illinois, where a tornado is on the ground this evening. And then our risk tomorrow is the slight risk or the level 2 severe risk tomorrow. So something that we're going to continue to monitor tomorrow. Again, we expect rounds of storms coming not only in the morning, but also in the afternoon on Wednesday. And, how long those storms stick around in the morning will determine how bad the storms could get into the afternoon. So if those storms stick around longer and we get the rain cooled air, then that might temper things down in the afternoon. But if they move out quickly, then we might have our hands full Wednesday afternoon in the greater Cincinnati area. We will get new high-resolution modeling in tonight, and we will show you that later on tonight. I'm going to be live on Star 64 and streaming at local12.com at 10 o'clock. And then at 11 o'clock, same story, live streaming on local12.com and live on Local 12 WKRC as well. And I will bring you new information about this severe threat in the Cincinnati area tomorrow. But if you just joined us, let me show you again one of our high-resolution models, which is just an approximation of what might happen. Quiet overnight. And then pre-dawn hours tomorrow, we begin to see storms erupting in the area, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, 9, 10 o'clock. The main threat with those storms would be damaging winds and hail. Tornado threat's not zero, but it's smaller with those storms tomorrow morning. And then we're hoping this model is right in keeping some rain around through the early to middle part of the afternoon, because that would squash the severe weather threat somewhat, not completely make it go away. And then we intend to watch our southeastern counties there later in the afternoon. But if those morning storms come and go really fast and they're out of here, then that might increase our severe threat into the afternoon, not with just a line of storms, but with some potential supercell or rotating thunderstorms ahead of the front, ahead of the main line. So that's a possibility depending on what happens in the morning. So, if we're still getting rain around at noon or 1, 2 in the afternoon, and that keeps the atmosphere more stable, bravo. That's what I'm rooting for. I never root for the severe weather, ever. I'm rooting for this to be a complete bust and nothing happened. It's interesting, this HRRR model or HRRR model that I'm showing you, it's been showing the greater severe weather threat really occurring in the morning as opposed to the afternoon. Now, that might change as we get new data and as storms evolve tonight, but that's what it's showing right now. So that would be a situation, I think, that would help us somewhat, because it wouldn't be so much a tornado threat in the morning, although, again, threat's not zero, but more of a wind threat and a heavy rain threat there in the morning. And then we would watch the other activity moving in by the afternoon. And as we run this out, again, by evening, it's done. It's over. Rest easy. It's not like we're going to be up all night tomorrow night tracking severe weather. That's not going to be the case here. So primarily a morning through afternoon threat. Some of our models hold it on a little longer into the evening, a little slower with the progression of the front. But, I think it's going to be quickly out of here tomorrow evening. So we won't have to really worry about it. Rachel just asked, the afternoon storms look more likely to be severe south of Cincinnati. Is that correct? Well, that's what one model shows, Rachel. That may not be correct. As I mentioned earlier, models are just approximations of what could happen, not necessarily what will happen. And the models have differing opinions on what they think is going to evolve tomorrow. This is a different model than the one I showed you. And let me see if I can zoom this one in. I'm going to actually edit this. And let's see if I can do this right. Zoom this in. Back this up. Okay, so this is a different model. It shows that round of storms in the morning. And these could potentially be severe. These may produce some damaging wind gust, obviously heavy rain. They produce some hail. Not a zero tornado threat, but a small tornado threat. Notice how this model moves those storms out pretty quickly. And then that allows things to calm down toward the lunch hour tomorrow for most of us. And then it begins to refire storms into the afternoon here. Now notice this model hints that ahead of the cold front and ahead of that line of storms, there could be an individual storm or two that fires up. And it's those individual storms ahead of the main line that would have a chance to be supercells and be rotating storms that could produce tornadoes. So this model gets rid of the morning storms quicker. That allows the atmosphere to destabilize more and gives us a better chance of seeing one or two of those supercell thunderstorms ahead of the main line that would bring a tornado risk. Areas east of Cincinnati would have the higher chance of perhaps seeing an isolated tornado. But this model just hints at it. See those individual storms there that right up through Claremont into, maybe northern Brown, Highland, Clinton County. Although even on this model, they look a little elongated, like they're not going to be supercells necessarily. And then the front moves through and the severe threat comes to an end. So the answer to that question is, yeah, one model, showed areas southeast with, some more problematic situation there in the afternoon, but that doesn't mean that's how it's going to evolve. This is all an approximation based on inexact and very flawed information that the model is getting. Incomplete and flawed information that the numerical models get, because that's the problem. We don't have enough information to predict how these storms are going to evolve. So it's all a big approximation on how this is going to evolve. But that's just one model. I'm going backwards now. That's one model. Again, it has the storms in the morning, some severe there early on, and then a little bit of a break midday before more storms erupt in the afternoon. And if we get enough destabilization there could be some of those individual supercell thunderstorms that form ahead of the front. The other model I showed says, no, we're going to keep some rain around. We're going to keep the atmosphere in check, and maybe there's a little wind threat in our southeast counties as the front comes through, and then that's pretty much all she wrote. So the evolution of this, still pretty much up in the air on exact details. But bottom line is, what you need to know is there's a severe weather threat tomorrow. I hope it's a complete bust. I hope nothing happens. I hope the storms in the morning aren't severe and they stick around, they stabilize the atmosphere, and then the stuff comes in the afternoon and it's nothing, and everybody's mad and said, you were talking about severe weather chances and nothing happened. And I say, yeah, okay, thank goodness nothing happened. And I'm happy, and that's the end of it. But it remains to be seen how this will evolve. When you get this much wind shear, this much in the way of dynamics in the atmosphere, then severe weather is a threat. But it's the finer details that we can't predict on how these storms interact and evolve on a small-scale basis that determines what is going to happen tomorrow and how that is all going to set up. So, again, appreciate you guys for being on here with me tonight. I'll be back at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock. Star 64 at 10, 11 on Local 12, local12.com at both times. And I'll pass along any new data that I have. We'll hopefully get some new modeling runs in here that'll give us more clues as to how everything is going to evolve tomorrow and how this is all going to go down. But just make sure you stay weather aware. And I know that a lot of people get upset with storms and with threats for severe weather. And, I was one of those people when I was a little kid. So the last thing I want to do is get people upset or worked up. Be prepared, not scared. This is not a high severe weather risk for us. It's only a level 2. Could it go to a 3 if the morning storms clear out quickly and the Storm Prediction Center sends their update at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon and says, boy, it's looking like this is going to go to a higher level? That's a possibility. But could it go the other way too, where the storms stick around or the rain sticks around and we got rain around in the early afternoon, the atmosphere is more stable, and the Storm Prediction Center says, yep, I'm putting you on a marginal risk now. We're taking it down to a 1, except maybe our southeast areas where you're going to see a 2. That's possible as well. So just be prepared. Don't be scared. And we will continue to keep you updated about this, because this is not a level 4 risk like they're seeing in northern Illinois and northern Indiana tonight by any means. This is, level 2. Maybe it goes to a 3. Maybe it goes back down to a 1. We'll have to see how things evolve tomorrow morning, because tomorrow morning is going to be the time frame that we really need to worry about. I want to check in on that tornadic storm again. Yeah. Moving out of Kankakee County, Illinois, into Lake and Newton County. They still have an observed tornado warning on this. And again, none of this is coming toward the Cincinnati area. This is not going to impact the greater Cincinnati area. Yeah, at 6:47, a confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado located near Sun River Terrace or near Mamis, moving east at 25 miles per hour. This is a PDS. Now, particularly dangerous situation. Large tornado, 3-inch hail. This is a radar-confirmed tornado. The Weather Service up there says you are in a life-threatening situation. Flying debris may be deadly to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be destroyed. Considerable damage to homes, businesses, and vehicles is likely. Complete destruction possible. It's the strongest wording you're going to see. One of these things. So, yeah, that is, again, to reset, this is south of Chicago, moving out of Kankakee County, Illinois, crossing the state line of Illinois into Indiana. My wife and I call this area the Triangle up here in northern Indiana. We call it the Triangle not for good reasons, because we had all kinds of bad things happen to us up there when we were college students. My engine blew up on my car once. I had a piece of an overpass fall through my windshield and almost kill me once up here. I-65 is just a dangerous highway up there in northern Indiana. But there it is. Let me take this off. Yeah, there's where the tornado likely is. Talmadge, Pembroke. I don't know if I'm pronouncing those towns right. Very small towns there in northeastern Illinois. But that's where there's a radar-confirmed tornado. And they just have the tornado warning up for Kankakee County until 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock for us here in Cincinnati. But Lake County, which is where Gary is, where Maryville is, that's the county here that butts right up against Lake Michigan. It's the southern part of Lake County, right along the Kankakee River there. They may see the storm coming in there. And then you got Newton County just south of there on the south of the Kankakee River, where you have Lake Village there. They've got a severe thunderstorm warning for that area with a tornado possible tag. 3-inch diameter hail. Man, just huge hail. That is a nasty, nasty storm. It's moving through there. So again, none of these storms are going to impact the greater Cincinnati area. They're all north. They're going to stay up there along that front tonight. And we're not going to see, hopefully any kind of threat like they're seeing up there. I mean, that's a level 4 threat. So we don't think that threat is going to be the type of threat we see around here. Anyway, guys, I'm hungry. I got to get some dinner. Haven't had dinner yet. I need to get that done before I need to start prepping for the news at 10 and 11. Thank you so much for joining me here. Again, I'll have more at 10 and 11 tonight. Local 12, Star 64, local12.com. Paul Petit, Tara Blake in tomorrow morning. Keeping an eye on this. And then me and Eric D. will be teaming up tomorrow afternoon with the